Hello there, good people of YouTube. Welcome to another desktop rendition of a Gmod tutorial. Today I am going to talk about Expression 2. Rather than do it in game, I thought I'd just do it in Notepad because it's easy. Okay, most of you have no idea how to use Expression 2 because, sod it, I've met a few of you and some of you are absolute idiots. No offense. So let's look at the absolute basics here. When you open up a new expression, at the top you'll have name, input, output, persist, trigger, and an interval, I think. If not, you can add one in. Name. Name is just what you want the chip to be called when you look at it. This is my apply force driving one. Inputs. Any inputs that go into the chip, information that goes into the chip. So we've got forward, left, right, back, space, active, shift. You get those off the advanced pod controller. That's what that is. Outputs. If you're building a car, this is going to be things like your hydraulics or whatever you're using to drive it. On this one I'm using applied force, but you could use thrusters, anything like that. Brakes as well. Persists. Persists any internal values or integers as they're called. Things that don't need to be seen by the outside world, you just put in there. Trigger, I have absolutely no idea, and this means how many times a second or it checks to see if there's changes. 10's pretty good. Alright, how to comment code. You start with a hash, then you can write whatever you want. See, you've got nice little comments here, just so I know what I'm doing in there. Alright, let's look at the basics of writing a line. I'll open up a new one just so I can see. We'll take the most basic. If now then, those are regular semi brackets. Input equals. If you do one equal, it tells the argument what it is. If you put two equals, it asks what it is. So you want two equals for this part. Say 1. Then curly bracket. Output equal 1. Alright. Oh yeah, all inputs and outputs should start with a capital. Actually, I'm not sure if that carries over from expression 1, but that's the way I do it. What does this code do? Alright. It goes if, an if statement. It'll either do one thing or another thing. With this sort of if statement here, because I have no... This is one argument. It's like, if input is 1, output equals 1. If, yeah. Now the expression will look at that and go, right, is the input 1? No it isn't. Right, what the hell do I do then? So you do else, bracket bracket, output equal 0. This is your basic layout for most expression 2. It's an if, what does this do? What does this input read this? If it does, then you do what this says. Else, you do this. So if the input equaled to 2, it'd go to 0. If input equaled 3272, it'd go to 0. If input equals 1, it'll put the output to 1. If you think that's a bit too complex, there is an easier way of doing it. This is the old school way of doing it that I like from expression 1. So you have an output, you put equal. You gotta remember spaces with this one or else it doesn't work. So input equal 1. Question mark 1 space colon 0 space bracket. What this one does is it does what this line does, but it does a much shorter thing. So you write output equals. Does the input equal 1? Isn't it? True. If it's true, it will output a 1. The first one is true. Colon 0. 0 is what happens if it's false, so you can set that to a 2 or a 3 or anything you want. I like this way of doing it because this is the way I mostly work. I just do if statements. But with this, you can just go add new line and then put another argument in. Input equal 5, 7, 8. And you could just keep putting add signs on the end and writing new lines. I like this way of doing it. And that is pretty much the basics of writing expression 2. So you can either do it this way or this way. And using the if statement you can do all sorts. So we'll look at my applied driving one again. Alright, let's look at this. Oh great, it's tiny. 18. Alright, let's look at this. I always state every argument, so... I know this is the one I changed, bugger. Alright, ignore these little hashes at the beginning, because I commented this code out to change it from this, which someone gave me off the Gmod form. So let's look at this line. If W equals 0, and S equals 0, and Shift equals 0, then the output is 0. But then I've just done another line to do if it's all 1s and output 0, so my car won't go forward. Say the DI here is my thruster output. This line, if W equals 1 and S equals 0 and Shift equals 0, DI equals 1. You don't have to write all of these, but I like to set up for every argument because I didn't know I could just do that. That's pretty much it. That's the really basic way. If you want to say... let me think, I've got to try and figure out which one of these works. This will work. This one's even simpler, because I haven't even bothered with an if. What is it? I haven't bothered with the true-false statement at the end. It's just T1 equals if gyro is greater than 1 and gyro 1 is less than 179, then it times throts to an output. This is what I was doing with beacon engine. So that's less than, that's greater than, and you just put an equals afterwards. Don't think you have to do that in the if with the curly brackets statement of doing it. Yeah. That's the very basics for writing an expression too. Probably someone's going to point out I'm utterly wrong. Oh well, sorry. Yeah. Have fun, kids.